Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cut the BS, another Thursday evening, a very cold Thursday evening here in Wisconsin. We are live in the Game On Wisconsin studios, brought to you by Our Tech Ventures. I am your host, Brandon. There is no Cut the BS without me. Give me a follow at Brandon_Snide. The initials are part of the show. Not everybody has figured that out yet. I've had a few people ask me, guys, what the BS means, so I had to dive into it. So that's why I kind of give a little brief description. If you're following me on Twitter, don't forget to follow Game On Wisconsin on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram at Game On WI. Thank you guys for tuning in to another jam-packed, we'll call it depressing episode for Packer fans out there. But nonetheless, I'm excited you guys are tuning in. If you're on the live stream, good evening. Happy Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. It's always a great night. Thursday nights are one of my favorite nights. If you are listening on your smart device, wherever you may have your podcasts, thank you guys. Like I always say, it is an absolute honor and privilege to be here to be talking about our favorite teams. Of course, you see I am not alone tonight. I am joined by two special guests, two really good friends of mine. If you're watching, up to my right, no, my left, there we go. Sanjay Murthy. You can follow him on Twitter at Sanjay X Murthy. You can also check out his podcast, the Freezer Podcast, every Monday. I don't know their off-season plans, so just stay tuned for what they decide to do. And then below me, you guys are probably familiar with Ryan, a.k.a. Rhino. You can follow him on Twitter at Sports Talk Rhino. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you for joining. How are we doing?
Warm.
Awesome. Tired, but good. We're good.
It is it's a lot to talk about in the state of Wisconsin. We're going to dive into the Packers. That's a whole week's worth of shows that we could run into. The men's Wisconsin Badgers right now, they just finished up their game this evening against Nebraska with another win, albeit it wasn't necessarily pretty in the second half, but they get the win. But we're going to start off with the Milwaukee Bucks. And Sanjay, I'll start with you. Kind of a roller coaster week for the Milwaukee Bucks. They beat Chicago. They beat who did they play on Saturday? I think it was Charlotte. Maybe it was Charlotte. I don't remember because the Packer game, I had both screens on. And nonetheless,
Memphis.
Was it Memphis? Okay, that's right, because John Morant. Yeah. So we're kind of going through a roller coaster. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They're currently the 5th seed. I know seeding really don't matter, but if you look at the Eastern Conference, seeds 1 through 6 are separated by 2.5 games. So it's a jam-packed Eastern Conference Finals. But Sanjay, I'll start with you, and then Rhino will go to you. What are your current thoughts on the Milwaukee Bucks as we sit right now?
I feel like this is I should just have a response to you, and you can just record that response, repeat it every single time.
Yeah.
Because if this is what they want to do for the next month, and then ramp up competitive play, let's just say end of March, early April, then if that's what you need to get yourself ready and get your mindset in for the playoffs, I don't care what they do anymore, because we've seen them as a number 1 seed, we've seen them as a 2 seed, right? Last year was 2 or they were 3.
I was thinking about that today.
I always forget that stuff.
I think it was the 2, because I think Atlanta was the 3.
Yeah, exactly. So they're the 2 because
was Philly the 1 last year?
No.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah. Philly was the 1 because they played.
Oh, you're right.
Atlanta.
Where was Brooklyn then? Then no, Brooklyn
was the 4.
No, because Brooklyn had home court advantage in the second round. So
yeah.
I think it
they
was
were
Philly.
2.
It was Philly, Milwaukee,
Milwaukee,
Atlanta.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think
because New York was the 5 and the 4-5 was Atlanta.
Yep.
So I don't know really what mindset. I mean, I feel like it's almost like we're saying Giannis is the team leader here, and he decides what they want to do. But it just seems like if this is the route they want to go, on hey, let's just clean up the things that we do consistently bad, and get that kind of figured out. But we're not really worried about the points. We're not really worried about the wins per se. And if we just go in as anything between a 3 and a 6 seed, whatever, we'll face whoever we have to. We faced the Nets, we faced the Hawks. We haven't faced the Heat. I mean, sorry, I guess we did face the Heat last year, but we didn't face them with this squad. But
right.
And obviously Philly is the only other team that we haven't seen in a while. But I feel like they're just not scared of anybody, at least in the standings. So I think it's just weathering the storm. I think the biggest thing is, when are we getting Brook back? I think this team completely changes our identity when he comes back. So I think that's really where they're at right now. They're just kind of playing with a lot of different rosters, especially with how they play with Bobby Portis and Giannis at the 5, and seeing who's really the one that kind of meshes the best, who's really the offensive prowess, I guess, when, the B squad's in, what are they really getting out of Wara and Wes Matthews and some of those guys in the second squad. That's what I feel like. Everything is just a lot of, teetering, or not teetering, but like, tinkering with the lineups, I guess you could say. So that would be my take on it. I mean, I see losses now a little bit differently. I'm not like, oh, we lost to Cleveland by 15 or whatever it was last night. I just see it as, okay, how did my big three play? And then how did we do efficiency wise? Where was the turnovers? Where was the, what were we doing? How were the free throws? Were we crashing boards? That's where I'm seeing it now. The wins, losses really don't matter to me anymore. But Rhino, what do you think?
I think with the Bucks right now, and what we've seen all season, is they really have not been able to find their true identity. I mean, we really haven't seen this team at full strength all season. I mean, if it's not, a Brook Lopez going down, it's a Drew Holiday going down, it's a Chris Middleton missing time here, it's a Giannis missing time there. Yep. So we really haven't seen the Bucks that we will see come May during the regular season yet. We've seen flashes of what this team can do when they get some of their star players back. I mean, they missed Drew Holiday for 5-6 games. They didn't have Drew, and then all of a sudden he comes back. They win 3 straight games. The one combo that I'm really enjoying watching right now is Holiday and George Hill. And I saw the statistic earlier. In 342 minutes with both point guards on the floor this season, the Bucks have outscored their opponents by 31 points per 100 possessions. That's the best mark in the NBA out of 920 league-wide combinations. So, when they do have their guys on the floor, they're playing great basketball. It's just the problem is they're running into really unlucky stretches where they'll lose a guy here or lose a guy there. And I just think it's really prevented this team from hitting full stride. The good thing about this is, hopefully, fingers crossed, they're shaking this injury bug off now and the COVID bug off now. So come April, when we start the playoffs, they can get into full stride with all of their star players on the court.
It looks eerily familiar to our friends in the North, where we were losing a lot of guys left and right, and then, Avengers assemble at the end. Yeah. I don't know if that's the same thing that's going to happen come May, and we're like, okay, we're getting all these guys back. Is it too late where it's like you get these guys back earlier and let them get themselves back in the groove and get their feet wet, and get them like the game speed back, I guess you could say. So I agree with you.
The defining difference between the friends to the north and our friends down in the city is Giannis does get it done when it matters most.
Yes, he does. Big shot.
Yeah,
big shot.
He does. He absolutely does. And I said it after Giannis won. This is before I knew what was going to happen with the Packers season. Giannis owned Wisconsin. If you are a Wisconsin sports fan, and not just maybe a Packers fan, and there's some out there that's fine, but Giannis is your guy. When was the last time we've seen an NBA superstar like him in Milwaukee? He has his own shoe, has his own brand, 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, all these accolades. He's a starter in the All-Star game again for the 6th year in a row, and now he's ours, and he's staying here, and it's rare. So it's Giannis's right now, and Aaron Rodgers lost that, obviously.
One thing about Giannis real quick, too, just to expound off of what you're just saying, Rodgers really never took that title from Favre as the statewide favorite player of all time, or at least of the last 40, 50 years, because he's such an aloof guy. Yeah. He's not a very personable guy to the camera. He always has that passive-aggressive nature. Giannis has not only passed up Aaron Rodgers in terms of the statewide favorite athlete, he's making a rivalry, with Brett Favre of probably the most favorite player of at least the last 50 years. I mean, I know it's a new generation of fans, but...
And what demographic is he hitting? The colored demographic.
Yeah.
Like that was the one thing you weren't seeing with Brett Favre. Not that's I'm
couldn't
not trying to make
relate.
this about
Couldn't
race,
relate.
but you know that's
well,
what I'm
yeah,
saying. Like
it's
the
it's
kids
hard.
from
It's
Milwaukee,
hard for minorities to relate to
Yeah,
the Wrangler
like-
genes.
No,
so.
Exactly.
he's absolutely right. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like,
couldn't
you're
relate.
100% right.
the
Yeah.
inner kids of Milwaukee or Madison or wherever you see it. I don't know if they gravitated towards Brett Favre the same way as like we did up here, where it's like, oh, this is. I mean, we eat, bleed, breathe, and sleep football here in Green Bay, but it's like Giannis touches everything. He touches the kids from across the world, or the the colored kids, even the white kids, anything it is, and even adults too. It's not just kids, it's adults. The fact that this is the kind of human being you are, and this is the kind of human being you present yourself as. With Rodgers, real quick, that was one thing with Rodgers. He was so quiet. No one really knew what he wanted to do before. Like he never really got in the media and stuff. And we were like, whatever. He's just a really awesome player. That's why we gravitated towards him. And then now when we see him talking, we're like, oh my God, dude, just stop talking. Or depending on how you feel about things. Or you're just saying, oh man, what's he gonna say next? Or he's really completely unfiltered now. So it's a little bit of a give or take.
He's a Benedict Arnold right now.
Giannis showed up. Giannis showed up to his press conference with a bucket of chicken
Quaker
wings.
steak wings.
Yeah, Quaker steak.
I haven't seen a Quaker steak and lube in a long time. I know they're big out.
They were all
in
shutting
Cleveland.
down.
They were, yeah. Mike, I think one of my cousins actually used to work at one. But when I was stationed on the East Coast, they're out there. But I mean, he's so authentic, man. Like and like Sanjay was saying, everybody can relate to him. I mean, Disney's coming out with a movie. I thought it was supposed to come out in January, but I guess
they got pushed back a little bit.
Did it?
Still trying to find things, but
I mean,
it's just nice because he relates to the average human, right? Because
everybody.
He didn't have anything. Like when he relates to saying, like, I only had one sneaker. Like, how many kids only have one sneaker? I only got one pair. Like, it's more relatable. Aaron Rodgers obviously came from a good family, came from a lot. Cali, it's not really relatable, right? Like, it's now. Yeah, we do like Aaron Rodgers, but
another thing about him too is he doesn't make anything relatable either. I mean, you see pictures and videos of Rodgers in Hawaii, hiking the mountains of California. You see Giannis in his truck stopping to get 50 chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A. I mean, I can tell you right now, I relate to that all day.
Yeah,
if you shop in Brookfield, you'll probably run into him. He's out all the time.
There's one thing I'll say right now. I grew up in Green Bay all my life, and I would see Aaron Rodgers either in Best Buy or a movie theater, always had a hat on, always had a hood up. Sometimes he wears shades. Whereas Giannis is just like, yo, look, I'm 6'11". Ain't no one going to not freaking know who I am. And he really embraces the people. Not does he go sign autographs everywhere? No, but at the same time, he at least embraces his town, his community, his city, and the fact that, look, I'm here. I'm here for the city. You guys gave me so much. Let me give you back.
Going from Giannis to Grayson Allen, gentlemen, Friday night news. I actually didn't watch the game. I absolutely love that they beat Chicago, though. God, I loved it. I was calling the game for high school basketball game of the week, so I didn't catch the game live. I watched the replay of it. Rhino, I'll start with you. I know where you're going to stand on this, so I want to start with you. Basically get you out of the way. Grayson Allen goes up for a shot attempt against Alex Caruso, the unsung hero apparently in Chicago. Chicago goes on to lose that game. Caruso comes out, he broke his wrist. They're still talking about it. Literally, the Chicago media, 670 The Score, was just talking about it yesterday. Your thoughts?
Chicago Bulls Twitter is still talking about it too, unfortunately.
They're still, I mean, tomorrow's a week, guys. Like, I mean, it sucks that Caruso got hurt.
It's as if Michael Jordan got hurt. Like, it's basically
honestly, like I can't wrap my head around this because I hate Chicago. But Ryan, I'll start with you. Like, your thoughts on the play, your thoughts on the after effects of what has happened.
So I was very quick to respond because I was watching the game. I watched the play happen live. I was very quick to respond emotionally to it. It's so easy to associate Grayson Allen with dirty plays because of his history at Duke. Yeah, I mean, there were several dirty plays that he had while he was at Duke, and it's not even an argument. So it was very easy to quickly associate dirty play with Grayson Allen. I went back, I watched the replay a couple of times, and this is my contention on the play. There is a fine line in the NBA of hard fouls and taking fouls a step too far. Do I believe in Grayson Allen's heart that he was trying to hurt Alex Caruso? No, I don't believe he was intending to make a dirty play. I don't think he was trying to injure another player. So I'm not going to label it a dirty play. Grayson Allen did take it too far. I mean, not only did he go up and smack the arms, he did pull down a little bit as well. So it's a play that I would define as taking it a little too far, a little too hard. Was it dirty? No, because I don't think Grayson Allen was intending on causing bodily injury. I mean, I can't imagine that somebody playing at the NBA level or any professional level for that matter. I mean, you rarely ever see that. You see guys like Alex Hainsworth for who did he play for when he stopped? Was it the Titans? He stomped on that guy's head with his cleat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you see those plays once every 5-6 years in certain leagues where it's a no doubter. It's like, okay, that was a shit dirty play. The Steve Nash play in the NBA playoffs where he just got drilled into the sideline, into the press table. That's a dirty play. So I would define it as taking a hard foul too far, but I don't think it was a dirty play.
Sanjay.
Okay, I got 3 points. One, I love that Andrew Bogut and Amari Stoudemire got into it. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Bogut.
I hate Amari Stoudemire.
Yep. Amen.
Number 2, I want to just take a look, or we don't have the clip, but take a look at Chris Paul's foul on Giannis when he does the mean mug look on Game 5. It's the same. It's close to the same. Now, granted, he didn't take him down because it's 6'11" versus whatever 6'1", whatever Chris Paul is.
Yeah.
And that's almost quite literally the same, like, I guess,
it is.
take as how he did the foul. I agree with you, Ryan. I really do that. It was a little too far. I think you could have just done like the one hand, whatever, and then that would have been enough. The 2 and then the turn and kind of like the throwdown was kind of where he got, flagged for it. So I just want to say that look, if we're going to be nailing Grayson Allen for this because he's Grayson Allen, but then Chris Paul, who's been known for all sorts of just shady stuff all throughout his career, doesn't get the same kind of like treatment. Now, they're not going to bring it up, because it was last year and that wasn't a thing and Giannis didn't fall, right? Because Giannis is, a man. But, no,
that was great.
I just look at that. My third final point is shame on the NBA, though, because this is what happens when you get kind of pressured because the Bulls were crying and freaking out, and maybe some of the NBA was also freaking out because this kid didn't do anything in the time frame in his NBA career in the 4 years that he's been here. Never done a flagrant 1, never done a flagrant 2. And yet now he's being labeled because what he did as a child in Duke.
Yeah.
Say what you want to say. He was a dirty player in Duke, but he's a kid. You know what? These kids don't know squat in college. They learn from their mistakes. This guy's nothing but quiet, shy, humble. I mean, he's just a role player, right? Like, he's not a superstar. He knows that. And he's just trying to make himself around the league. That's who Grayson Allen is. So I'm a little ashamed by the NBA for that. The fact that they had to like make this move because they had to show, the shield, right? Like, that was stupid. You listen to one organization because they got a guy hurt, and then you just, you really just kind of caved, and you're like, okay, I guess we'll give him a game. I mean, granted, it's only a game, but you set a precedent now because now I better see it from everywhere. Then let's start looking at all these fouls, and then not that we want to slow the game down, but the fact being, if this is what's going to happen, that was not as egregious as what I've seen in the NBA in the last 20 years that has been not called a foul, or at least an ejection, or even a game suspension. So those are my 3 points. I don't know. I don't agree with the suspension. I do agree with the fact that he was it was a little too much of a foul.
Two quick follow-up. Oh,
go
sorry.
Ahead. No, go ahead.
2 quick follow-up points to that. One, if it was any of the other 4 players standing on the court wearing a Bucks jersey that made that foul, there is no 1-game suspension. 2, the NBA potentially has set themselves up for failure now because you're right. They did set a precedent with that 1-game suspension. But if we see a similar foul like that going forward in the next couple of weeks, even a month down the road, and there isn't a 1-game suspension, then there's going to be heavy criticism of NBA officiating and the NBA league front office. Because if you're not suspending guys for the exact same foul a month from now, or even in March and April, that's bullshit.
Go ahead.
No, absolutely. We're cutting.
I was just going to say,
Sanjay, go ahead.
Look at the one foul that everybody hates the most, but it's probably the most dangerous foul. And that's the foul where you go up for a shot and the guy's in your way with his feet, and he comes down on your feet, and that's the whole torn ACL, broken ankle, that foul. I mean, everybody was just starting to like go back. As soon as the Caruso thing happened, everybody went right back to Giannis on the Kyrie injury and how he stood in his way and he never let him come down. Well, then that foul, in essence, should be in the same degree of what this, like, that's what I'm trying to, like, what Ryan and I are both saying. That's the precedent that you've just created. Because if these guys get hurt and you're basing on injury, then okay, then you're going to be suspending a lot of people, because people still go up and try to put a hand up in the face, and sometimes they don't get out of the way, and their feet are in their way, and that's obviously that foul, that shooting action foul. But anyway, it's a bumpy road that you're going down.
I couldn't agree with most of what both of you have said. Both of you have made excellent points. It's you're not going to get any argument out of me for most of it. The only thing I will argue is when my dad was texting me during the game, and he told me what was going on, and then I saw, my ESPN ticker came up and said Grayson Allen ejected for flagrant 2. So I said, oh God, like I'm even afraid to look at and see what it was. So I go on I get done with the game, I go to my phone, I open up my phone, I open up the play, and I watch the play, and I swear to God, I'm a Bucks fan. Everybody knows I hate Chicago and I love Milwaukee. And I watch the play and I go, that's not a flagrant. That's just not a flagrant. I didn't see I saw the initial hit and then the follow through, but that's just a hard foul. You're at home. Yeah. It's a one possession game, and you're going up to make a play. If he wanted to hurt Caruso in any way, shape, or form, he would obviously have. I think it would have been a little bit more egregious. But to me, here's the other thing. Like, newsflash for anybody listening in, it wasn't even the hardest foul of the night in the NBA. Tucker Horton for LA upended a guy on his neck. Wasn't even the hardest foul in the night. Like, it wasn't even the hardest foul. And the fact that Chicago, I still get mentioned on Twitter about Grayson Allen being this or that. I don't understand. If you are a basketball fan and you haven't watched a Giannis full game, Giannis goes through more on a nightly basis. We just saw it last night when Kevin Love went to go do a charging foul because nobody plays defense anymore in the NBA, and he slid underneath Giannis while Giannis is in midair. That's more dangerous, in my opinion, than what happened to Caruso. Now, it's unfortunate what happened to Alex Caruso. He fell. It was extremely dramatic how he fell, and he broke his wrist, and that sucks. Like Sanjay mentioned, when Bogut, it happened to Bogut. Amari Stoudemire pushed him at the lower part of his back. He fell, and he was never the same player again, even though he won championship with Golden State. But it ruined his Milwaukee Buck career by destroying his elbow. That was different. Like Sanjay said, you made up all the great points, Sanjay, with the injuries. Nobody talks about the Chris Paul push on Giannis. What if Giannis came down and tweaked his ankle, twisted his knee, something? Remember, this was post knee injury in Atlanta. If he fell down on it awkwardly and something happens, is the outrage there? LeBron James, a man, so yeah, well, absolutely. LeBron James last year pushed a guy in midair while he was going up for a dunk at his waist. He took that guy out for 2 games.
Oh God, could you imagine if Grayson Allen had done this to LeBron James? We would never hear the end of it.
And I would love it. And that's the thing. I hate LeBron. That's the thing. With Sanjay, or I think Rhino, I think you talked about it. If that's anybody else, man, and that's what's so. The other thing that got Sanjay brought it up. So I was like, okay, let me, all this talk with Grayson. I didn't know what he was like in Utah. I didn't know what he was like in Memphis. I knew who the player was. I'm a Badger fan. Unfortunately, I know what he was in Duke. But we're all stupid at 17, 18, 19 years old. I still there's things in my life that I wish I could go back and change at that age. But so I went and looked at his NBA career, and I said, well, he's got to have there's got to be something. There's nothing. I mean, here's no track record of him in the NBA right now being that player that he was at Duke. And it's unfortunate from a couple aspects, because he's now labeled as a guy he was as a kid in college, which nobody is, right now. So it's unfortunate that has been dragged with him. And then the backlash from Chicago. I mean, you are talking about, guys, we are talking about a week. In the NBA, a week can be on anywhere from 3 to 7 games, not 7, but 3 to 5 games on average after they played their third game after Milwaukee. Billy Donovan, head coach for Chicago, was still talking about that play. I mean, I mean, there's now a rivalry with Chicago. Like Milwaukee and Chicago are now.
They
now
finally
go down.
figured out that they have a team of somewhat, and it's like now they want to chirp because otherwise they're in complete irrelevance for the last like 2 decades. So like they're gonna talk when they can talk, and I do want to say at least with the foul on where I part of the reason why I believe it was a little bit more malicious was I think he was already at the point of no return in the sense of like Caruso already had the bucket. And I think because he was late on the jump and the fact that he was turning backwards, if it was like him straight up like here like this and he was right in front of face to face, I feel like that wouldn't have been the foul. But because he was he was coming back and he was actually like the one like coming from the back, that's why it seems like it's malicious because he's turning him that way. So I don't know if it's obviously what deems, flagrants and what, but
well, like you guys said though, now the NBA, but we've seen this though, and maybe this is just me getting emotional, but we've seen this with Milwaukee. The backlash for Milwaukee. We didn't get Bogdanovich because we were tampering. Every team tampers, and now it's Milwaukee was tampering, so they can't have.
They use this as a guinea pig.
And now you're looking at the Grayson Allen. If that's anybody else, nobody else got suspended that night, and that was the third hardest foul of that night. And obviously it's now a Milwaukee, us versus
it's prime time
thing, but
that's when you see it on
and it's Chicago.
It's also the Bulls. If that happened to Charlotte or if that happened to Utah, then we're probably not even talking about it right now.
Yeah. Before Sanjay, I know you got to get running here before we go. I don't know if we'll be talking again until after the trade deadline. I haven't looked at the calendar. The Bucks 30-20, like we talked about, 5-5 in their last 10, kind of just keeping their head above water. Do you think with Semi Ojeleye, Rodney Hood, maybe Dante, do you think they need to make a splash at the trade deadline? Like, do you think it's a must do? They need to do something at least.
I don't think there's a must move if Brook is okay. That's the thing. Like that's always going to be the question on any trade is Brook okay? Because that's clearly why you're making a trade. But if he is okay, I still don't think, so if he's not okay, I still don't think there is a trade that they need to make. But at the same time, I don't really know what's out there that's like really a viable option to give up like a Dante for. If are there some trades out there that I could see like a Rodney Hood or Shemi? Sure. I think those guys are, pretty, movable, but Dante's a pretty nice piece, and I'm not just going to move him for like some, whatever player because, the fact that we need to make a move. Like Dante still is starting to figure things out. He's still getting his feet back into NBA shape, and this guy he's a slasher. He's a contributor. He cuts the basket better than Drew, in my opinion, because Drew misses all those layups that I hate seeing so nuts, much. But primetime Dante can be something scary, and I don't want to just give him up for nothing. So I don't have a trade right now that I'm like, oh my god, I need to bang the mallet for. But I would like to see them make like one move for a guy that can like contribute more on the boards, maybe a guy that can kind of help in the second team. There's not a guy that I'm like, okay, you're gonna help us in the starting rotation. I don't see that, especially with if Brook is coming back. So I think you already have your starting 5. I think you don't mess around with that. That's a fine oil machine right there. It's the second unit that I'm like, okay, is Jordan Wara a piece you move? Is like I don't know if he is or not, but like that is kind of the unit that I'm looking at. And I like George Hill. I'll tell you this right now. I did not like the George Hill move originally because I was like, man, 37, 38, whatever he is. I do like his vet stuff. I do like the fact that he understands the system. He was here, but like I did kind of want to stay more younger. But the fact that he is balling out, and I do like what Ryan had mentioned before about the combination with him and Drew. That's spectacular. I mean, whatever we can do to keep, whatever that night was, I think it was against Memphis, where we're like, we had like 5 guys or 6 guys in double-digit figures. It was a beautiful thing to see. But there's not a trade that I really I need to see, but at the same time, I'm not against the trade. So,
well, if there is, we will be talking about it, and you and I will we'll get together. I don't know if you got any off-season plans with the Freezer podcast, but for a great year, my friend, you guys did a tremendous job. Unfortunately, it all ended too soon, and I know you got to get running, but man, thank you for joining me, and we'll talk again soon. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Freezer podcast did have its last episode on Monday for the season, at least. We're in some talks right now, especially with this Aaron Rodgers stuff. You know, maybe March 16th we might have a show, because that could be
Might be something to talk about
in the history of the Packers, obviously, and you know, for the coming years. But for right now, yes, we are going to take a nice little vacation that we all, you know, definitely deserve after a long season. But yeah, definitely catch me on here whenever you guys need me for some Bucks talk.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Sanjay X Murthy, Murthy. Sanjay, thank you so much. Rhino, I will deflect the final Bucks question to you that I just brought up to Sanjay. Do you think the Milwaukee Bucks need to make maybe not a splash, but do you think they need to do something at the deadline?
To be honest with you, hold on, I might have to sneeze.
I have been like that all day. I don't know what it was. I swear I don't have COVID. My right nostril was just, I had the worst tickle in my right nostril.
Dry. It's so dry. No, what I was talking about earlier, I think applies to the trade deadline question. I honestly don't think the Bucks need to make a move at all. Like I said before, we still haven't seen this team hit its full stride. Now, if the Bucks were 30-20 and they had no injuries all season, they had no time missed, we were seeing the starting five out there almost every game other than your casual rest days, then I would say, yeah, we're in dire need of some help at the trade deadline. But we're 30-20 with guys missing time from COVID at the beginning of the season. Drew missing games here, Chris Middleton missing games there. So no, I don't honestly think we need to make a move at all. That statistic with George Hill and Drew Holiday says it all. I mean, the defense plays well when they're an entire unit on the court. So there really is nothing that I could say we need or desperately need right now. No, I would say no.
Yeah, and I trust Horst, because we saw it last year when nobody wanted PJ Tucker. He made that move in mid-season, or it was actually a buyout. So I think the buyout market's almost bigger and better than trade deadline is in the NBA. So we'll see where the Bucks are at. Like I said, sitting at 30-20, I like where they're at. They're healthy. They're Giannis is healthy, and they're not overplaying these guys. LeBron James minutes where you're playing 36, 37 minutes a night.
Yeah.
So I think, again, I trust Horst. I trust Coach Bud. They're champions. They're defending champions. But a team that's not, Rhino, a champion, unfortunately, we're gonna transition. We started out the show with a little bit of Bucks talk, a little bit of positivity. I'm gonna present this on our screen here because I don't necessarily understand what happened. You were there. You were at Lambeau. Talk me through Lambeau. Talk me through the environment. Talk me through the Packer game in through the lenses of your eyes, because the Packers are now bounced out of the playoffs. They played one more game than the Bears. One more game than any team that did not make the playoffs. They drop it 13-10. They're now faced with 1,000 questions. We'll get into the Hackett stuff in a little bit, but I don't know, man. Just talk. I don't know what happened.
Dude, right before kickoff, it was electrifying at Lambeau. It was probably something I had never witnessed, because this was personally my first playoff game. And I've been to some regular season games where the crowd has just lost their mind. You know, I went to the Seahawks game in 2015, the home opener after that, another atrocious playoff loss. But it was absolutely electrifying. That first drive, they drive right down the field, they score. You know, I'm sitting there like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to put 30 on the 49ers. It's not going to be a breeze or a cakewalk, but we're going to control this game. They had the second drive. They were moving the ball with the same efficiency. They were marching right down the field. Boom, Mercedes Lewis fumble. Okay, we're not going to panic yet. The crowd didn't panic yet. Zadarius Smith had a sack. The crowd exploded. I mean, if there would have been a roof on Lambeau, it would have been blown completely off. That was one of the loudest I'd ever heard the crowds in my entire life. But slowly throughout the game, as 3-and-out happened, stalled drive happened, the crowd slowly started to get quiet and quiet and more quiet and more quiet. And then we're sitting there late in the fourth quarter, 6 minutes to go. The crowd finally started getting a little bit of energy going. Block punt for the touchdown. you could have heard a pin drop in Lambeau.
Oh God.
It was devastating, absolutely devastating when that punt return for a touchdown happened. And I mean, the general consensus, at least the emotion that you could feel in the air, was that's it. That's all it's going to take.
Yeah. What's weird is I'm sure she's listening because my mom listens to every show. Before I even got to her house in the morning, she sent me a screenshot. It was one of her Facebook memories, and it was, wasn't the ending we wanted, but we still love our Packers. And it was I think it was from last year, because the NFC Championship game last year would have been when they played. So she was like, I got a bad feeling, and I'm like, I think they'll be fine. Like, they're better. They're at home. They're healthy.
Why would you do that, Mama Snide? Why?
So, but it gets even crazier. So we're right before kickoff. She's like nervous. Like, she's, before the game even starts, we could barely sit for any part of that game. And she goes, and this is before, like, on my kids, this is before the game even starts. She goes, I just know what it's going to happen. She goes, it's going to be tied. There's going to be 4 minutes. And that stupid Jimmy Garoppolo is going to drive down and they're going to kick a field goal. And I swear, she predicted it. Like, she knew what was going to happen. And it kind of gives you an idea of where, as Packer fans, we have been playoff record or playoff experiences for the last decade, really. Man, you and I have talked. We talk almost every day. I've said it before. This was the last shot, man. I mean, even if you got Aaron Rodgers next year, there's no guarantee you are going to be as healthy gets. And I mean, you had everybody but David Bakhtiari back, which sucks.
Don't even get me started on him.
Yeah. If Jacob's watching, he'll get mad at you. He doesn't want anybody going after Bakhtiari. I have my own thoughts on it too.
Get him out.
It is what it is. We'll figure it out if we have time.
Actually, put this question up on the screen. This most recent one here. True North Packers fan. He asks, did the crowd pick up when they stopped the 49ers on 4th and 2? Because I still thought we were going to win. Yes,
I did too.
So that was a huge play, and the crowd had been quiet for quite some time. And when that 4th and 2 stop happened, that was another huge explosion, huge roar of cheering and clapping and all that. So yeah, crowd did pick back up its pulse, its heart rate when that play happened. But I mean, honestly, in the second half, the cheering was few and far between.
It's, man, it's just, it's so disappointing. I mean, it really is. And that's the only thing you can really come up with. People woke up and they were angry. People woke up and they were disappointed. It felt on Sunday, and I want you to speak on this for my perspective, watching it on TV, watching Aaron Rodgers go out. It felt like we were watching the last chapter at the end of an era. Like, it had that feeling. Was a 2-part question. Did it feel like that for you? And number 2, when you were out there, did you feel energized by watching Aaron Rodgers? Did it show, like, when you're out there in the crowd and you guys are all standing on TV, you guys were loud as hell. Like, you guys were loud. That first drive, especially when Za'Darius got that 3rd down sack. I mean, you guys erupted. But I didn't on TV, and you were there, so you can speak on it. Just didn't feel like he had any drive, energy. I don't know. He just felt like he was just there to be there.
It's really a shame. I talked about this with my dad. I went to the game with my dad. I talked to him about it. It's really a shame how this season almost mirrored identically, emotionally, to the 2007 season with Brett Favre's last ride with Green Bay.
It does.
And it ended in almost eerily similar ways with a game-ending field goal. Very similar score, I believe. Wasn't that game somewhere near the same as 13-10?
I think it was, yeah. Because it was really cold.
Yeah.
It was it was like extremely cold.
So I mean, in terms of how the season ended and how you feel emotionally, it really does resemble that 2007 run with Brett Favre. Brett Favre had those probably 2-3 year stretch where he wasn't Brett Favre anymore. 2005 they went 4-12. That was the year they drafted Aaron Rodgers. 2006 they went 8-8. Mike McCarthy comes in, brings them to an 8-8 season, but it really didn't have that magical feel. It didn't have that, hey, we might be back feeling. And all of a sudden, boom, 2007, they're one of the best teams in the league. They beat, They beat Seattle in the divisional round, and they just trounced Seattle.
That was the
and
snow
you
globe
really
game.
had the snow globe game. You really had that feeling like, oh my God, I really think Brett can do this. And then, of course, in Brett Favre fashion, he lets you down with a game-ending interception. Only this time around, it wasn't an interception. It was another 3-and-out for Aaron Rodgers. It was another missed pass and missed wide-open guy during clutch time. So emotionally speaking, yeah, it really did have that same feeling. What was your second question again? I'm sorry.
When you're watching Aaron Rodgers, and we only get when you're on TV, the energy, what he looked like when he was out there.
I said this to you right now. This, I don't know what a guy is thinking on the field. I don't know Aaron Rodgers personally. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what he was trying to do. But I can tell you right now, had that been Tom Brady, fires would have been lit under the ass of all 50, however many guys are on the sideline in pads. I mean, that entire team would have been on fire, and they would have driven down the field and at least gotten into field goal position.
Or
Aaron Rodgers, or a first down even. Aaron Rodgers, it did not seem like his head was there. It did not seem like his passion was there. It just seemed like he was going through the motions. It was like, all right, another drive for us. Let me see what I can do. I don't want to speak poorly about. I love Rodgers. I've been watching him for the last 15 years. I mean, he's one of my favorite athletes of all time. So I'm not trying to assume what he was thinking and assume what he was doing, but good Lord, do something. You have to be a leader at some point. I know he's not your vocal locker room leader. I know he's not your vocal sideline leader, but at some point you have to take charge of your team. You are the guy under center. You are the captain. You are the leader of the team. It's not like in baseball where you might have a pitcher or you might have a shortstop be the leader of the team. It's not like in basketball where it might be your center. It might be your point guard. It's football. The quarterback and your middle linebackers are the leaders of their respective defense and offense. That's it, period. It's your job. It's not just something you can pass off to other people and hope that somebody else does it for you. It comes with the territory. When you get under center and you snap the ball and you go back into the huddle after an incomplete pass or after a 1-yard run, it's your job to say, look, guys, we need to get this done. Let's do everything we can. Let's fight to the last second. Let's scrape for every inch. You don't get that out of Rodgers. You don't get that out of him. You don't see him. Like, we got the one little snippet in the NFC Championship game. Get me the ball back. If I'm Zadarius Smith or if I'm Jair Alexander, I'm like, okay, we'll get right on that. Like, that doesn't inspire me. No shit, we're going to get the ball back. That's our goddamn job.
Yeah.
Give me something to fight for. Give me something to breathe for. Give me something to go out there and kill myself for. And the Packers didn't have that on Saturday.
So Dawn brings up a good question. She's watching the show over on YouTube. Thank you, Dawn. I shouldn't say question. She drops in a comment. The LaFleur look, and she says, I will never forget that. He looked really upset. And that's a great point by Dawn. Thank you, Dawn, for watching.
Yeah.
Because it was, man, he looked dejected. I know you guys obviously didn't see the post-game show or the post-game press conference because you were there. But I watched it. I kept it on, and I was absolutely dejected watching him be dejected because it feels like I said, that was it. Like, and he knew it too. Like, there's no guarantee next year you'll never be this healthy. There's no guarantee you're going to have the number 1 seed, even though as a Packer fan, it doesn't mean anything anymore to us because we haven't been successful in doing it. And he just kind of felt like, man, that was it. Like that was their best chance. I know last year they got to the NFC Championship game. There was no fans in the stands. Or there was, but there was very little. But man, did it feel like this was their year. It really did. And we've talked about that so many times. And then you go out there and you march down the field and a little bit of AJ Dillon, a little bit of Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, you hit Mercedes Lewis, you get the ball into scoring, you drive down, 7-yard touchdown. AJ Dillon's got guys bouncing off of him. Snow's starting to fall down. You're like, yes, sir. I'm going to reach for those chips. I'm going to start relaxing. That second drive, you go right down the field and the fumble. Was the fumbling for you the turning point in that game?
It didn't feel like it at the time, obviously, because there was very high confidence even going into halftime. It's like, all right, we're holding them. They're not doing anything against our defense, which they didn't do all game other than that final drive, which you can't put that on the defense, that final drive, by the way. I just want to say
I don't put anything on the defense.
Defense gave up 6 points 6 points to one of the better offensive teams in the NFL. 6 points, okay? So I don't ever want to hear that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a defense narrative ever again the rest of my life. But
yeah, he blew that.
Looking back at it in hindsight, it's almost like, man, how could you possibly pop your balloon in the first quarter on your second drive? I mean, it's like that's almost impossible to think about, but it's really what happened. I mean, they were never the same after that. I mean, the closest they got after that was the what was it? They got to about midfield, I think it was the best they did.
I've watched it, dude. It's a play that it's like I don't want to say it's like on the fumble of the Brandon Bostic onside kick. I just don't know. I want to know. And I love Aaron Jones, man. I really do. I love him for who he is. I love his family. I love everything about Aaron Jones, the player on and off the field. I really want to know what his thought process was on that third down catch and run right before halftime. There's 39 seconds left. It's like 3rd and 11. He finds Aaron Jones wide open. Aaron Jones runs a 4.5. I mean, Jimmy Ward is 15 to 20 yards. I know he had an angle, but still, I mean, a foot race probably. So there's two things. A foot race at the bare minimum, you probably get to, if you don't score, you're probably looking at inside the 5-7 yard line ish.
Yeah. He's inside the 10, 100%,
which is a lot better than the 16 yard line. And then number two, if you were going to do that, why did you not go out of bounds and save a touchdown? I don't understand that play. It's going to stick with me for a while.
It's easily one of the worst plays of his career. It's right up there with his fumble starting the second half in the NFC Championship game last year. I mean, it's easily what makes it one of the worst plays, if not in my mind, the worst play, is the fact that it was a dumb idea. Like, I mean, I understand he probably may not have known this at the time, and it's hard to know that there's a guy tracking right behind you because he did have a defender about 5 yards right behind him.
He did. Yep.
But what do you think you're going to do? I mean, yes, he does have good agility. He does have good speed, but that's a DB running after you. That's not a linebacker. You're not going to shake somebody out of their shoes and cut back inside and go and score. There was 37 seconds left on the clock. Just go to the house, dude. Get as close as you can. You would have had plenty of time to get down and spike it, whatever you needed to do. You may have even had time for another play or two because it was obviously a first down. It was a 75-yard pass. Mm-hmm. Just keep running. Dude, I saw that. I didn't even wait for the play to end. I just turned around. I look at my dad. I'm like, what the hell was that? Why did he go back upfield?
When you saw it on TV, because, obviously you guys have a better, spot of it at the bowl. And I'm like, he's going to score. Like, I jumped up off my chair. I'm like, he's gone. Like, he's gone.
90,000 people thought he was gone.
Even with Jimmy Ward with that, I'm like, he's absolutely gone. And I said it too. I said, while it's happening, I go, if he scores, it's over. The game's over. 14-0 going into halftime. You suck the life out of San Francisco, and that's it. Yeah. A defense that hasn't given up anything. I don't even know if they've given up a first down at that point in the game right before halftime. And then he doesn't go down. Then he kicks the field goal, and then it's blocked. And I looked at my dad and I go, that might be it. Like, that might be bad because it was just a swing of momentum, man. You could have went into half 14-0. Obviously, in hindsight, 14 points gives you plenty to win the game, enough to win the game. And I don't even really think it's close after that. Packers could have kicked the field goal after that, and it would have been fine. And man, it's just a play that, and I love him. I really do. He's one of my favorite players.
Oh, yeah. He's such a genuine guy, but it's man, like, what are you doing, dude?
That was hard. So, okay, real quick. If we have a pie chart, right? We got a pie chart of who's the blame for the game, and you can percentage it however you may feel. And if you guys are watching over on YouTube, you can also drop your pie charts, and I'll share those, and we'll talk about those. A pie chart, break it down, percentage on who you blame for the Packers' second round sudden abrupt loss and bounced out of the playoffs.
95% Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry, dude. There's one guy, literally one guy on all three phases of the team, whether it be defense, offense, special teams. There's one guy that has to play better than the mistakes you see on the field. The mistakes like Aaron Jones, the mistakes like allowing a block field goal, allowing a block punt for a touchdown. There's one guy that has to play better than those errors, those mistakes. That is the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers, once again, his defense, even with the block field goal for a touchdown, I understand that. Once again, his defense gifted him with opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to go down and score. So I say 95% Aaron Rodgers. I'll put 4% on the special teams, and I'll put 1% on Matt LaFleur.
Mine's a little simpler, although it's hard to argue yours. Mine's 100% on Aaron Rodgers. 100% on Aaron Rodgers. And if you want to drop your percentages, go ahead. I'm putting a whole 100% on Rodgers because there's a couple things. Number one, you asked for Randall Cobb. First off, you made the whole offseason about what you were going to do. Nobody knew what you were going to do. You finally come back. The attention's all on the Packers. Everybody hates the Packers. Everybody's making fun of the Packers. You and I went through it with Bears fans over on Twitter, and we defended him. Aaron Rodgers, that is. And then you go to Brian Gutekunst, and you're like, I want my best friend. I want Randall Cobb because he's still good, and he should have never have gotten cut. You remember his post-practice press conference where he name dropped like 30 people that have been cut that shouldn't have been cut. Whatever.
Jake Kumaro.
So you bring on Randall Cobb, and that's fine. You know, he doesn't really do a whole lot this year. He has some good moments. He gets a core muscle tear, and he's out for a while, and he comes back and he plays. And they all made these hype videos. David Bakhtiari made one, Mercedes made one, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae, they all made these hype videos.
I hope David Bakhtiari's deleted his.
And you all week you're asking, man, you're Aaron Rodgers. Aaron, what do you think of the weather? What do you think of it? Man, I hope it's cold. I hope it's cold. I hope it snows. We love the elements out here. We play better when it's under 20 degrees, whatever he says. All week. Really all since the beginning of the winter season is what he says. And you go into Lambeau, your legacy for now is on the line. Even if he wins another Super Bowl, a lot of people are going to remember these losses. Your legacy, some of the worst losses, dude, like ever in any fan base, like they're awful. At least the Bills got there. Like we can't even get there in 10, 12 years. So I put 100% on Aaron Rodgers. You had everything you've asked for, man, other than David Bakhtiari, but you've had a damn good offensive line. And you know what's crazy? A stat that I caught, I believe, I don't want to take it from anybody without giving him credit. It was either Zach Cruz or Peter Bukowski. I can't remember which one, but I believe it was one of them. During the regular season, on average, Aaron Rodgers had 3.64 seconds to complete a pass. 3.64. In that game on Saturday, he had 3.8. He had more time on last Saturday, to complete these passes. He had 29 completions, and 21 of those went between Aaron Jones, your running back, and Devontae Adams. That's absolutely irritating me. Garbage.
Sorry about that. Yeah, the one thing that's really irritating me is the Aaron Rodgers sympathizers are out in full force with, well, he had no time to throw. He was getting pressured all day. Bullshit.
It was
he got pressured. He got pressured on quite a few plays. I mean, there was probably about 5 or 6 plays that got broken up because of pressure. 2 things here. 1, the stat you just brought up is astounding. And 2, you're talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time that's not a run-first mentality quarterback like a Vic or a Lamar Jackson. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in the face of adversity, in the face of pressure. He's one of the most elusive quarterbacks you've ever seen play. He's made some of the most craziest plays, bouncing in, bouncing back, bouncing side to side, eluding pass rushers. I don't want to hear that he was pressured. He has the ability to escape pressure. So that's not what cost them the game. Stop acting like they dominated the offensive line. They didn't. Would they sack him once, twice, I think it was?
Joe Burrow was sacked 9 times and he won.
9 times he was sacked and he still won the game.
That's crazy.
So stop making this is the thing. I'm done making excuses for Aaron. I'm done doing it
anymore. Yeah, True North Packers fan, shout out to you, man. He drops in 60% special teams, 35% Rodgers, 4.5 LaFleur, and 0.5 other offensive players, Jones, and then nothing to the defense. I don't completely disagree with that, but I don't think, look, guys, we knew the special teams sucked. Like we knew it's not like all of a sudden you're, the Chicago Bears, where it's one of the only good phases of your team is the special teams. We knew they sucked. They lost Jordan.
Yeah.
They costed Jordan Love a win in Kansas City that nobody wants to talk about by giving up 9 points in that game when they lost by 6. But now you're expected for me to take on the blame of the special teams for Aaron Rodgers failing to throw a touchdown in Lambeau Field. And you can talk about pressure. We can talk about other offensive players. You're not wrong. Like, there's people deserve blame, but it's on one person. There's a person that makes that offense run. There's a person that is supposed to find the open guy. And there's numerous plays where Aaron Rodgers, the all-pro, about to be 4-time MVP, completely has eyes for Adams, as I call it, and stares down Devontae Adams and is missing everybody else. Alan Lazard, Josiah DeGuara, St. Brown. These guys were wide open. I talked about him bringing Randall Cobb, and he targeted Randall Cobb one time in probably Randall Cobb's biggest game outside of 2014 in his career. He targeted him one time. That's not on the special teams.
Zach Cruz had, and this, it's unfortunate, Zach Cruz covers the Packers. We're all Packers fans here. We're all diehard guys. This is one of the most depressing statistics that I've ever read in my entire life, and I'm going to read it here on the show. So the first tweet is this: 4 huge 3-and-outs from Rodgers, Packers offense in the fourth quarter of the last 2 playoff losses. 3-and-out, down 28-23 versus the Bucs. Very next drive, another 3-and-out, down 28-23 versus the Bucs. Then when they were up 10-3 versus the 49ers, this was before the block punt, 3-and-out. Then after the block punt for a touchdown, when it was 10-10, 3-and-out. Now there's one other drive that you add to this, and it's in the NFC Championship game. When they were down 31-23, they had 1st and goal from the 8-yard line. Rodgers went 0 for 3. 2 of those passes on that drive, or on that 0-3 alone, went to Adams. Altogether, out of those 5 scenarios, Rodgers is 2 for 11 for 9 yards. 6 of those 11 passes went to Devontae Adams. He completed 1 of them for 4 yards. That is choke city if I've ever heard in my entire life, dude.
True North has a good comment here, something you and I talked about. He says, I did not like the offensive line changes, but Turner at left tackle played good. Kelly at right tackle struggled, but Rodgers had time to throw the ball. I couldn't have summarized that any better.
Yeah.
You and I tweeted you the Matt Schneidman thing, and I go, what? But here's the thing. Kelly struggled in the first half. He actually did really well. He graded out pretty good in the second half. But I truly believe that offensive line was constructed by Stenavich, Aaron Rodgers, and Matt LaFleur. I don't think Stenavich probably had not a whole lot to do with any of it, to be honest with you. And I think
I would be willing to bet Rodgers probably had the most to do with who he wanted out there.
I agree, because he mentioned it. I absolutely agree, because he's mentioned it before. He goes, oh, we got to figure out our best 5. We got to figure out our best 5. And who is your best 5? I mean, that was probably, Matt LaFleur probably went to Rodgers because LaFleur is afraid to do anything without pissing off Aaron Rodgers, which I feel awful for LaFleur for, because it's just it's a tough situation. But he probably went to Rodgers and he was like, hey, who do you like? We're going to probably see Bosa. You got Eric Armstead over the middle. Arden Keys is coming back. Like, you got good players out there. And Rodgers probably said, I want Billy at because he's good friends with Billy Turner. He said, I'm guessing, I'm assuming, I agree with you, True North Packers fan. I didn't like it either. But they didn't play bad. Like, they didn't play bad at all. Aaron Rodgers had almost 4 seconds to complete a pass. It's just, man, it's such a numbing loss. And people ask me, and I'm going to present the question to you, Rhino. You and I have talked about it numerous times, but for the folks, the wonderful people at home watching the show, do you anticipate, with the hire in Nathaniel Hackett getting picked up by Denver, do you think that gets the train moving for Rodgers to Denver eventually?
I've been struggling with this concept all week, because deep down, obviously, I want Aaron Rodgers to play. I want him to be a Packer for his entire life. I was of the contention that if they won the Super Bowl, I thought that raised his chances of retirement. If they didn't, I think he would be hungry and want to come back for more. There's a large portion of my brain, maybe even more my heart, that says he does not go to another team, that he's either going to retire or come back for 2022. But the point that I've been bringing up, and we talked about this on Tony from Texas, his Twitter space earlier, at what point do you say enough is enough?
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell me in 2008 that Brett Favre didn't give you the best chance of winning over Aaron Rodgers. You know, if Twitter existed in 2007 the way it does now, everyone would have been screaming, bring Brett back, bring Brett back. Because at the time, Aaron Rodgers was an unproven commodity. He only had the one game against Dallas, and obviously that was a lot better than what we've seen out of Jordan Love. But at the end of the day, you had no idea what you had in Aaron Rodgers. You can't tell me that Brett Favre wasn't your best chance of winning after a 13-3 season. But at that point in time, I wish I could ask Ted Thompson if this was a part of his thought process. Did you make that decision? Did any part of your brain say this to you when you made that decision? Is enough enough? Let's see what we can go out and build around Rodgers, because I'm at the point now where you don't know how long Mark Murphy has left. You don't know how many more opportunities Gutekunst is going to have before somebody says, well, you can't get it done. We're going to find somebody else who can. And how long are you going to allow Matt LaFleur to be restricted by Rodgers running the offense the way he wants to run the offense? At what point do you say, all right, let's see what Gutekunst is made of. Let's let him build the team from the ground up without the restrictions of the salary cap. And let's let Matt LaFleur take the reins and see what his offense is capable of when he is in 100% control. Do I want a Super Bowl? Yeah. But at what cost? We're mortgaging the future the longer we bring these guys back in. At what point do you say, all right, it's time to go in a different direction? Let's get these guys off the books. Let's get their salary cap numbers out of here. Let's get some draft picks in for guys if we can. Like, I'm of the contention, let's clean some of these numbers out. I wouldn't mind seeing Bakhtiari gone. Za'Darius is obviously gone.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is a casualty of the cap. His contract is very tradable, and A.J. Dillon is a phenomenal back in his own. He could be a starting back. Let's let Brian Gutekunst build a team around Love, and if Love's not the guy, you have a couple years left with him, and you can get another quarterback. But how much? It's obvious that Rodgers can't get it done when it matters the most. There's something that weighs on him, and I've said this before, where I don't believe in long-term stretches mentally for players. Like, I don't think the 2011 loss weighed on Rodgers today or Saturday. I used to think that way, but we're talking about a guy where we've said since day one, we've said since 2005, Rodgers is a chip on the shoulder guy. He had a chip on his shoulder when he didn't get drafted number 1 overall. He had a chip on his shoulder when he had to wait 3 years behind Brett Favre to start. He's had chips on his shoulder here, there, here. I think these losses have built on Rodgers mentally, and he does not know how to shake that off. He no longer knows how to step up when it matters the most. I don't care what kind of regular season comeback he has. Yeah, down 20-0 against the Bears on Sunday night. That's great. Down 24-3 against the Jets on a home opener. That's fine. I don't care about that if at the end of the year you can't orchestrate one drive to put 7 points on the board to secure a playoff win. Which of those games matters more? Throwing a Hail Mary against Detroit or missing a wide open Lazard for a first down in the divisional round against the Niners? Which one of those games mean more?
Yeah. It's you got me fired up. You're not wrong. I think the most frustrating part is with the Packers, and you hear it from other fans. Boy, you should really be counting your chips, man. You don't know how lucky you are to have an MVP quarterback. You don't understand how bad it could be. All these things. I don't think they understand how bad it is to have that, which we do. Obviously, we have that. Continue to win 10 plus games, like 13 in the last 3 straight years, and come up short at home. Like, that's more difficult. I've said it before to a buddy of mine when I was in the Army, and I said, dude, I would rather go. This is what I would rather do. I'd rather win the Super Bowl. I'd rather have a top 10 pick. Like, there's no in between for me. I don't want to go 13-3, and I don't want to go to the NFC Championship game and lose in a heartbreak. I don't want to go to the divisional round and only score 10 points at home and lose. Yeah. Like, we have some of the worst losses with that all-pro MVP quarterback. You look at Seattle. You look at Arizona. I know he didn't even see the field in overtime, but whatever. You look at Atlanta. They got blown out in Atlanta. You look at San Francisco. They get blown out at San Francisco. They lose at home to Tampa Bay, and then now they lose to at home to San Francisco. Like, these are awful losses, man. Like, this loss is right next to. I don't think it's as worse as 2014, because I think that was number one, you really should have won that game, but that was to go to the Super Bowl. This one obviously doesn't get you to the Super Bowl. It gets you closer to the Super Bowl, but it doesn't get you an appearance in the Super Bowl. But yeah, people that are out there that are like, man, you guys don't know how lucky you are. I wouldn't recommend not having an all-pro quarterback. Like, we also don't know what we have in LaFleur in a way, because it's a joint effort between him and Aaron Rodgers. Look, Jimmy Garoppolo, if they win, guys, like if Jimmy wins on Sunday, he will be in his second Super Bowl in 3 years. That's not bad for a guy that's not ever going to get an MVP vote and never going to be an all-pro. Like, you don't need one within this system. Now, I know Matt Ryan was an MVP quarterback, but he's a shell of himself. He went to a Super Bowl in this system. Shanahan and LaFleur were on that staff. Shanahan and LaFleur were on the staff that took Jared Goff. Shanahan wasn't, I'm sorry. LaFleur was. That took Jared Goff to a Super Bowl in that same system. I mean, you don't need this type of quarterback. It's not like what we're used to, Rhino, where it's like, Favre, you needed Favre, you needed Manning or Brady to get you to a Super Bowl. Matt Stafford, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a great quarterback. He's probably a Hall of Fame type quarterback, but he's not a world beater. He's not going to win MVPs. He's not going to get all pro, but he has a chance to be in the Super Bowl next week. I mean, I just think that for other fans that tell us how lucky we are, I don't think you realize how lucky we aren't, because they have been heartbreaking.
Let me pose a scenario to branch off of that point you just made. The Tampa Bay Bucks from 2002 to 2021. Okay, that's a 20-year stretch. The Green Bay Packers from 2002 to 2021. That's a 20-year stretch. The Green Bay Packers in that stretch had two of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. They made the playoffs in a 20-year stretch 16 times. They made it to 6 NFC Championship games. They won 1 Super Bowl. From that 2002 to 2021 stretch for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they had a Hall of Fame quarterback for 1 season. They made the playoffs 3, maybe 4 times, I believe, at the absolute most. They have 2 Super Bowls. So how lucky are we really to have Hall of Fame quarterbacks back-to-back if in a 20-year stretch, a team that makes the playoffs literally 13 less times than you has more rings than you?
It sucks, man. It's so deflating. Like, that's why that loss just, God, it sucks. I'm still getting over it. I know everybody out there probably is. I'm looking forward to the offseason. I'm really looking forward to seeing where Aaron Rodgers decides where his future is going to be. He says it's going to come sooner rather than later. So that's, I guess, something to look forward to if you're a Packer fan. I'm good with whatever happens. If I wholeheartedly trust Gutekunst, and I know I wrote an article about how great he is, but I firmly, truly believe that. Like, I trust him in what he's going to do. He hasn't really made a whole lot of bad moves. I mean, he picked up an all-pro inside linebacker last year prior to the season in Devondre Campbell. He picked up Rasul Douglas when nobody wanted him, seemingly barely made it on practice squads to turn into a pretty darn close all-pro cornerback. So I trust
can tell you this:
Gutekunst.
if Jordan Love wins the Super Bowl, Gutekunst may go down as one of the greatest GMs in the history of the NFL.
I think he probably would. Yeah, that would be because that was, man, it's still scrutinized. Like 2 years later, we don't know what. And that's the other thing too. Before we finish up with the show, man, we don't know what Jordan Love is. Stop acting like you know if he's good or if he sucks. Aaron Rodgers was god awful until I think year 5 in the NFL. 3 years, obviously sitting. In his second year, his second year starting, he finally took a leap, but he wasn't good either. And I know everybody wants to point to the Dallas game. That was in his 3rd year under that system. Jordan Love had a slow start to his progression. I'm not saying Jordan Love's going to be good. I'm just saying we don't know. Just give him.
No, we have absolutely no idea what he is.
Yeah, we
have absolutely no idea.
And if he's Jimmy Garoppolo, I just said that really weird. Jimmy Garoppolo, dude, like my lips like caught each other. If he's Jimmy G, if he's Jared Goff, like that's fine. That's all you need. That's all you need. And you have the pieces in place to have a good, solid defense with Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary. You could probably sign Jair, like we talked about prior, and you have Eric Stokes, and you're gonna, depending on what happens with Aaron Rodgers, you might have a boatload of picks. So the team's in a good spot. I think either way, this loss just sucks. It's deflating. Thank God, as Wisconsin sports fans, we have Giannis to watch, because if I didn't have a good team to fall on right after that, I would probably fall into a trap and just never go outside and show my face. But it is what it is, man. Before we wrap up the show, any last final thoughts you want to get out, process? This is like a therapy session for us.
I want to send a message out, and I don't want to alienate your fan base here. So I say this with all due respect to everyone. This is just a message out to the Packers fan base. It's okay to be mad at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has not given us a reason to give him a pardon by any stretch of the imagination. If this guy had 3 or 4 rings, then I could completely understand defending him. It is okay to be mad at him. He did not get the job done in the final game of the season for the second straight year. Now, 2019, I'm not going to put on Rodgers. That was a year that we weren't even supposed to be 13-3. Yeah. We were lucky enough to make it to the NFC Championship game, and obviously the defense shit the bed in that game. Enough defending this guy when you have absolutely no reason to. Do I absolutely want Rodgers traded? No. Ultimately, at the end of the day, he does give us the best chance to win a Super Bowl. And if he's back next year, I'm going to root for him just as hard as I have my entire life with the Packers.
Yep.
It's okay to be mad at him. And if somebody criticizes him, that's okay. You don't have to attack another person just because they criticize the quarterback. Name of the game.
And that's a solid point. I was a Packer fan along with you, probably most of you. There's some people that weren't. We were Packer fans before Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is. We thought when we had, and I'm not comparing Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love or Jordan Love to Aaron Rodgers, but we thought when Favre was leaving that we were doomed, and things turned around rather quickly. Not saying that's going to happen under Jordan Love, but we just don't know. And you got to understand that Gutekunst is one of the best executives, and I have serious full trust with whatever he does. And that's why when people ask me, and they ask you and I quite often, like, what would you rather, what do you want to see? I just don't, whatever happens, man. I'm just so deflated with football. Like, that was it for me. Yeah. And maybe it wasn't, maybe they win, maybe Rodgers comes back and they run it back and they win, but the chances are very low. And you had just a perfect, I mean, could you imagine, Rhino, if LA's coming to Green Bay this weekend? It's going to be like 20 degrees. I mean, LA's
I never want to hear about the frozen tundra again, though, dude. I just
the mystique is gone. Yeah, the mystique is gone.
And just real quick too, because another thing that I would like to point out. Yep, this might be petty. This might just be my anger from the loss, but Aaron Rodgers begged for the number 1 seed. He begged for the NFC Championship game in Green Bay last year, and they fell short. Once again, he talked about having the home field advantage, and they fell short. Stop doing that. Go out there and win.
I don't know what else he needs. I mean,
stop talking about it and just show us why it's the frozen tundra. Show us why that the playoffs should come through Green Bay. I mean, you got what you wanted. You got a defense that played an elite game. You got cold weather because I froze my ass off in the stands.
Yeah, it was cold. And
you had every scenario you possibly could imagine. You didn't have the injuries. You had just about everyone back, and you still fell short. So I don't want to hear anything out of you next season. If you come back, I want you to get under center and I want you to play football. That's it. Period.
Yeah, there was no excuses, and unfortunately, they came up short. But we will continue to talk about them. We will monitor what happens with Hackett, what the Packers do at offensive coordinator now that Nathaniel Hackett is out. But like I said before, we could probably talk about this for the next 2 weeks. But we're going to wrap it up for the show. If you guys are not following Rhino on Twitter, and if you're on Twitter, I highly recommend giving him a follow. He is quite entertaining. We had a comment on here. I got to go back and find it before we go because Ben will kill me. Ben will kill me if I don't, and I'm looking for it. Rhino, what are your thoughts on Thirst Trap Thursday? Follow him.
Don't even get me started.
Follow him on Twitter if you want his thoughts at Sports Talk Rhino. That's RYNO. Don't forget, If you guys are watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, follow Game On Wisconsin on Twitter at Game On WI. You can follow me on Twitter at Brandon_Snide. And obviously,
hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on. I apologize for interrupting. This one I have to get out. Deepest condolences to a very good friend of ours, Jacob Wessendorf. Obviously, one of the great minds behind Game On Wisconsin. Just want to let you know, bud, we're still thinking about you. We love you very much. Condolences to you and your family in these tough times. Everyone, if you could just send your thoughts and prayers to Jacob, that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. Without Jacob, there is no Game On Wisconsin, but it shows you that a Packers loss, we could talk about it for an hour. We could talk about the Bucks, but there's bigger things going on in people's lives. Unfortunately for Jacob, that became, a reality for him, and absolutely our thoughts and prayers. I think about Jacob every day. I say a prayer for him every night and pray for his family. So if you guys are watching, go ahead and, good vibes, positive thoughts, some prayers. I don't want to throw any beliefs on anybody. So if you don't believe in any of that, send some good thoughts, some good vibes towards Jacob and his family. But with that being said, we will wrap up the show real quick before we go. If you guys are not already, don't forget that if you're watching and you want to listen, or maybe you didn't catch everything, we're going to take this and we're going to throw it on a podcast version. So wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, we'll have it up and loaded here for you in about an hour or so. But that will do it. Thank you to Sanjay for joining us. I know he had to go put the baby boy to bed. Hey, we like your pod. Thank you. Sending love to Jacob and family. Thank you. We appreciate that. Jacob's a great guy, and we're all thinking about him. But that'll do it for the show. We'll see what happens with the Packers. I'll be back, I think, next Thursday. I don't think anything's changed. I'll be back next Thursday, and then until then, we will talk to you guys later. Have a good one. See ya.